Hey folks, it's Ray with Taste Radio. Right now, I am honored to be sitting down with Lisa Curtis, who is the founder and CEO of Kuli Kuli. Lisa, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you.
So we missed each other at Expo West, but I heard it was a fantastic event for you. And I didn't get to see your booth, but the photos that I saw were amazing, and they featured the brand spanking new look for Kuli Kuli, which is awesome. It feels very vibrant, bright, exciting. It feels like a lifestyle brand so much more than it did in the past. And what you had in the past was great. This definitely feels like it is made for the modern consumer, especially at mainstream retailers.
Yes, I will admit, as a founder, I was dragged into this kicking and screaming. I loved our old logo. I loved our old packaging. I was like, I don't want to change a thing. And then we went down this rebrand process, and I was like, oh, this is better. Okay, I love this. Let's do this. And it, yeah, has turned out so well. So big shout out to our designers. Faven did a great job.
Well, you've been at this for 10 years, and it's hard to, as they say in our industry, kill your darlings. Certainly, there are things about your brand that you want to hold on to as long as you can, but change is necessary sometimes. What did you feel like? What did your designers feel like you really needed to communicate on that front of pack and on the back as well?
Yeah, so we've been hearing for years that people talk about our products in the sense of like, oh, I love that moringa powder. I love those pink gummies. I love the like blue blend. And never did they say, I love the Kuli Kuli moringa powder, the Kuli Kuli blend, the Kuli Kuli gummies. And we also knew that they really thought of us, when, if they thought of us at all, as the moringa company. And we are now at a place where half of our products don't have moringa in them, but in fact feature other sustainable superfoods that really meet our mission of climate smart, community grown crops that we think are where our world should be headed. So the rebrand was really about bringing our brand to life and making it clear that we were more than moringa and really this sustainable superfood brand.
It probably helps to have a look like yours now when you're in Walmart. And when we last sat down for Taste Radio, it was in July of 2019. And the title of that episode was How I Got Into My Dream Retailer. And at the time, you were talking about Walmart and how you made your way into that mass chain. You've since gotten into another one that is, I would say, just as big, which is
Target.
Target. Congratulations. Yeah. Why is Target so important to you?
You know, I have been trying to get in Target for like as long as Kuli Kuli has been around because I just see the way that Target has made so many brands in our space. Like if you look at Ollie, if you look at, like just so many Bloom in many respects, like a lot of health and wellness, supplement brands get their real first big break in Target. And I think a lot of our customers shop there and being on that shelf next to Bloom, next to Groons, next to some like really key players in the industry, just like show that, yeah, we are a brand that is a cornerstone of health and wellness for superfood consumers.
Yeah, I would agree. You used to be next to energy shots. When I first was introduced to Kuli Kuli, you were selling shots of moringa. It was 2 ounce shots that were powered by moringa. And a lot's changed since. Well, a lot's changed for the brand, a lot's changed for you. And you've been doing this for 10 years. And I mentioned, typically I ask this question at the end of the episodes. I feel like it's appropriate to ask you toward the beginning of this episode. How have you maintained? How have you managed? How have you evolved? Has the brand, lived up to what your vision was for it at the outset? Starting a CPG company is challenging for a year. Doing it for 10 years, I can't imagine what that's like. But talk about your experience. Talk about your journey.
It is a roller coaster. I have to be completely honest. Like we came out of the gate really hard. Like we had a lot of momentum when we first launched in 2014, and then we entered COVID and our revenue got cut in half. And it took us literally 3 years to recover. There were a lot of moments where I was like, I don't know if we're going to make it. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this a year from now. And that's like such a hard thing to be thinking. And it really just came down to like, me and my co-founder believing that this business should exist, that we have a purpose that is greater than just selling products, that we really owed it to our small farmers and our supply chain to like keep going despite all odds. And, I joke that we're like now a 10-year overnight success in the sense that we're projected to double in revenue this year. So it's been an exciting ride. It's also been a super challenging ride.
Are you happy?
I am. I'm so happy. I mean, I love learning and growing, and like I think the really cool thing about growth is that it just pushes you in new ways. Like I feel like I'm being pushed so much as a leader to like, okay, we built this company up to, 10 million-ish in revenue, and now we're nearly doubling that. Like, what does that look like from a team perspective? What does that look like from a leadership perspective? What do I need to do to like set us up for success? And I think these are important things for me to learn, and they're also like really exciting opportunities for me to like grow as the company grows.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that would make me excited if I were an entrepreneur, which is the potential for growth,
Hmm.
the potential to lead more people, to employ more people, to help the farmers that you were talking about, to expand access to moringa or for moringa to more people. I think it's also in some ways nerve wracking and can be frustrating in a lot of ways as well. How do you stay even keel? Do you have to? Is it important to stay even keel in your business?
Oh, it's so important. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Like we are not a we are not a like snap your fingers, put out some product and the world comes to us. Like that's never been the Kuli Kuli story. Like we have worked so hard for every win that we've gotten. And I find that I really spend a lot of time like ensuring that I have taken care of myself first so that I am in a place where I can take care of everything else. So I very adamant my 8 hours of sleep. I run every single morning. I eat really, really well. Like even when I'm traveling, I like travel with like, a bunch of superfood powders and like really intense about like not just eating junk food, not trying to like work till midnight and then, wake up at 5 a.m. Like I need to be in a position where I like have the resiliency to take whatever the world throws at me.
Some people might say, well, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the cynics out there who are listening or might say that. Do you have fun when as you're doing this?
I have so much fun. And, one of the things that my co-founder and I did a couple years ago when we were in that really hard moment of like, we're stagnating, we're not growing, this is not fun. Like we really kind of went back to the basics and we're like, what makes this fun for us? Like, what do we enjoy doing about this business? And for both of us, we're adventure lovers and we love traveling and we love learning about other cultures. And we specifically love that Kuli Kuli is so connected to these amazing farmers on the other side of the globe. So we spend 3 weeks out of the year traveling and visiting with them and just like having a great time understanding like what does it look like to like live in Zimbabwe and harvest baobab, and we're at the end of May, we're going to Mozambique and spending a while there on the ground. And like that's the stuff that makes me come alive. And I think for both of us, it's like find the things that make you come alive and like go do more of that so that you can continue to do all of the other stuff.
I love that. Find the things that make you feel alive and do more of it. That's a great piece of advice. And people don't do it enough. I think you tend to find ways to avoid the things that you love sometimes because other things get in the way. But, life throws a lot of curveballs at everyone, and it's just how do you manage it? And sometimes those curveballs are good things, like when moringa starts trending on TikTok. And in a really strange way. When you reached out, it's such yeah. Please tell our audience all about why moringa started trending and how it really blew up on that platform.
Yeah, so it started last year actually, where we started to notice that our Amazon sales had spiked 70%.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I know, right? And then we noticed that our Whole Food sales were up 40 to 50%. And then we started to see our Walmart sales also up. And it like literally our team was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? And what we figured out is that there is a company from China that had started to sell moringa capsules online, and they were creating AI generated TikTok videos using various like wellness practitioners, like using their likeness without their permission to talk about moringa and to talk about the benefits of moringa. And those videos were like hitting millions and millions of views. Like some of them I think got like 4 million views. And so it was like ricocheting across the internet. And then people were looking for moringa. And, we're 70% of the US market for moringa. So, like, when they look for moringa, they find Kuli Kuli. And so it was this weird moment where we were like, we would never release these videos. We don't actually agree with the claims that they are making in these videos, but we feel good about these customers coming to us. And we feel good about moringa being more prominent. So it has been kind of a wild thing where, and then like they turned them off for a little bit. Like I think maybe they got some of them shut down. And then right after the election in November, where I think there was just like a general signal of, hey, you can make any claims, put any marketing stuff you want on the internet, and nobody's going to stop you. Then it turned up again in a really dramatic way. And so we saw our moringa sales turn up pretty strongly. And so there's been like this interesting kind of like maha intersection with moringa that has been fascinating to watch.
How much of that maha can you embrace?
I embrace anyone who wants to live healthier. I think it is great for all of us to see food as medicine and to pay attention to what we put in our bodies. I think when it starts to get down the road of like questioning vaccines and questioning medications, that's where I stop at the road. So I think, embracing moringa as like an amazing supplement that like for so many people is a real game changer in their health is awesome. And I think what we really tried to do was like seeing what was going on in the internet and then making TikTok response videos. So I feel very proud. One of our scientific advisors is a guy named Jed Fahey at Johns Hopkins University. This guy's in his 60s, never made a TikTok video in his life. And we were like, Jed, we need to get you on the internet. Like we need you to speak to this. And we worked with him and made a video that got hundreds of thousands of views, really kind of responding of like, here's what we know about moringa. Here's what the science says. Here's what we don't know yet. Here's what we see, from various cultures around the globe. And here's what has clinical trials. And so that was a really cool way for us to kind of respond. And then the other thing we did is we actually funded a clinical study with moringa and diabetes. So that was one of the claims that we saw was getting made a lot, and there actually hadn't been a US study on it. There had been a few international. And so we actually just released the results of that last week. And there's some really promising stuff from people wearing the CGM monitors, monitoring the blood glucose levels, kind of, thing baseline study, and then adding in moringa powder, and that actually helping to really reduce markers of inflammation and also blood sugar levels.
Did you feel like there might have been a bit of risk in not necessarily countering the claims that were out there, but doing a side by side or sort of myth versus reality or common misperceptions, because there was so much excitement and you didn't want to, you know, what I'm saying. You didn't want to stop that flow. You didn't want to make it seem like moringa was a bit more esoteric than what was already out there. You just wanted people to know more about it. So I guess, how do you balance this desire to put more education out there while maintaining the momentum that moringa already had?
It's a tricky balance. It is definitely a tricky balance. I think for us, what we kind of determined is like, we don't want people coming to moringa thinking that it's going to fix all of their health problems. Like, I don't really want anybody going to any supplement, thinking that it's going to fix all of their health problems. It's not the way our bodies work. And I think that like us taking a bit of a stand, and we did like the TikTok response videos where you sort of play the video that's gone viral and then you give
Mhm.
your response to it, was like a nice sort of gentle counterpoint of like, yeah, there actually are some great studies on moringa. There's actually some really amazing ways that it's used around the world. And here's where we still need to do more research.
As I mentioned, you originally sold shots, or when my first introduction to the brand was via shots. You have a whole different kind of product lineup today. When it comes to your innovation strategy, how has that evolved? How have you tested, learned, and finally come to a place where you feel really strongly about this is the best way for folks to consume moringa and other superfoods?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think we have failed our way forward for 10 years, and I think we're finally in place where I feel good about our innovation strategy. I think if I've learned anything is that we need to kill products faster. So we were one of the first to market with wellness shots, like before a lot of the brands that you see on shelf today. We started selling them in 2016, and I think we were too early. I think we were a non-refrigerated product in a set that like fundamentally people look for in the refrigerated section. And I think we didn't taste as good as we should have. And we kind of knew all of these things like 3 to 6 months into that launch. Like we kind of knew that it wasn't working, and we didn't kill it. We decided to reformulate, which was the wrong answer. I think similarly, bars were actually the very first product that we launched in the market, and we held on to those until last year. We finally killed the bars. Um, Similarly, we did a superfood chocolate bark, something that we launched, and it performed super well when it was on discount. And that discount was at a number where we couldn't actually make any money on it. And we had sort of like this hope and dream of economies of scale that never materialized and took too long to kill it. So, I'll tell you about our innovation strategy today. So last year, I launched 8 new products onto the market, and just last month we killed 2 of them. So we are trying to be really fast and focused in putting our energy behind the things that are working and killing the things that are not.
I love the bark, by the way. I'm sad to see that go because that was a really good product. But it seems like the question is what fits into modern consumers' lifestyles. And the lattes in particular, I feel like are a really easy way for people to incorporate Kuli Kuli into their daily lives. And the other part of it that seems pretty intuitive is how to use it, because there are other brands that some that you mentioned that have done some of the work for you, and I think that helps a lot too.
Totally. I think it's been interesting to see sort of like how the health and wellness consumer has changed and sort of new entrants into the market. I think during COVID, we saw a lot of people come into this like wellness superfood supplement space saying like, I need to take something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to like try all these things. And then a lot of them, kind of post COVID were like, oh, maybe I don't need these things. And then they actually like, oh, wait, I feel a difference in my life and in my body when I take these. I'm going to hold on to these things. But a lot of those same customers aren't the like super holistic, I make a green smoothie every morning. They're more on the like, yeah, I want some greens gummies, and maybe I want like a matcha latte that's like super powered by moringa and mushrooms. But I'm not willing to like work that hard to create something from scratch. And that resonates with me, like I work a lot. I have 2 kids. I like don't have time to be super creative in the mornings or really ever. And so I want my superfoods fast and easy and delicious. And I think that's the way that our product line has evolved. And it's been really exciting to see the way that that has resonated.
Yeah, and I was listening to your interview with Monica Watrous, who's our editor for Nosh at Expo West, and it was interesting because you had talked about how Kuli Kuli was known as the Moringa brand, and it was almost synonymous with Moringa. But that it has evolved, the brand that is, to a point where it encompasses more than just that. It's a superfood brand. Um, is that something that has been a little bit more challenging for you to let people know that you do compete with, or that you can be on the same shelf as a variety of brands? I mean, so as example, when people think about Four Sigmatic, they think, oh, mushrooms, mushrooms, mushrooms. Whereas with Kuli Kuli, it doesn't need to be just that one thing anymore. How has that transition worked for you?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think when we tell people that half our product line doesn't have moringa in it, their first reaction is like, well, what does it have in it? Which is actually a great question because then we get to talk about all the other ingredients that we're super excited about. Like baobab, I am obsessed with. For those who are listening who have not heard of baobab, Google it. It is so cool. You've seen it in The Lion King. It's the tree that Rafiki hangs out in. And it is literally this fruit that is amazing for gut health, amazing for skin health. And 95% of the world's baobab is grown in sub-Saharan Africa where it just rots on the ground. So when you think of like an amazing superfood that has so much potential to transform the lives of sub-Saharan African women and provide a really cool new superfood here to the US, like I'm leaning in hard. So most of those products that don't have moringa in them have baobab in them. They also have lucuma, which is a really cool plant from Peru that helps to protect the rainforest. They have hibiscus, which I think is like an amazing flower. Like who doesn't want to eat flowers? So it gives me an opportunity to like gush about all the other plants out there that are so, so great for your health, so great for the small farmers who grow them, grown, all regenerative practices. And I think the interesting thing that like, if you look at our packaging, we have kind of evolved, not just the brand, obviously being front and center, but also really trying to lead more with function, both in the naming and in like the beautiful photography on it. So Marine Glow, for example, is our sea-sourced blend with blue spirulina and baobab. And we really try to showcase this like, oh, it's a beautiful blue drink that like supports skin health, and is in the name of like marine glow. It's marine stuff and it gives you a nice glow. And so we have a lot of products like that where I think people are seeing the benefit and then feeling it for themselves and kind of caring a little bit less about like, is there moringa in it or not?
Well, in the name of our podcast, taste is something we've talked about quite a bit on this show. And sometimes I give founders or just the industry as a whole a little bit of grief because I think taste is one of those things that gets overlooked so often, whether it actually be the taste of the products or in the marketing of them. How do you talk about taste when you are presenting Kuli Kuli or introducing Kuli Kuli to customers for the first time?
We talk about how all of our products are designed to either be delicious immediately or to be easily incorporated into something that is delicious. So moringa powder doesn't taste good. I'm just going to put that out there. Like it is a earthy green. If you can imagine like, powdering kale or powdering arugula, like it's a super concentrated green that has so many amazing nutritional medicinal benefits, but like it's not a donut. It tastes earthy. It tastes bitter. It tastes spicy. But we have found that there are so many ways that you can make it taste great, that you can add it to your smoothie. You add a little cinnamon, you add a little peanut butter. Like it's delicious. And a lot of our like hardcore moringa consumers, they love the taste. They like literally, they're like, I love that it tastes green because it makes me feel good. That being said, a lot of our newer products, like our blends, like you can just mix most of those with water and they actually taste good. Our gummies taste delicious. The biggest question we get with our gummies is like, can I eat the whole bag? My answer is like, yeah, if you want to eat a $25 bag of gummies, like go for it. That feels great for me. There's nothing in there that's going to hurt you. It's all, amazing, sustainable superfoods. It's probably more than you meant to spend on your like, shopping spree, but that's fine. And then our lattes are really designed for like, you can just add water, froth, go, and they taste like an amazing caffeine-free latte that has real functional benefits behind them. So we've gotten better we've gotten better at taste. I think we probably like a lot of the brands you're referring to started out being like, we're a wellness brand. Like we just need to have like nutrition that makes people feel good. It doesn't have to taste good. And then we sort of realized like, no, it has to also taste good.
Well, yeah, for sure. And that's why I love the bark so much because it was so delicious. I mean, it's mostly
Yeah,
chocolate, but I mean,
right.
that's the
Exactly. I'm
thing.
like, oh,
Yeah.
if I could have made money on it, I would have kept the bark.
But when you are thinking about that traditional retail and figuring out your demo strategy and getting gummies or lattes or marine glow into people's mouths, what's the strategy, especially when you're thinking about a Target and a Walmart where the Whole Foods consumer might be a little bit more educated, might know the word moringa, might be embrace superfoods more than those customers. What's been the best strategy for getting liquid to lips or gummy to uh, gums?
Yeah. Yeah, the strategy has changed a lot over the years. I mean, if you had asked me this in 2019, I would have said we are in the stores. We did 400 demos in Whole Foods alone in 2019, like let alone Sprouts, all the others. And we have changed quite a bit where we are now a lot more digital forward. It's a lot more like how do we use online marketing tools to drive people to stores? So we're doing quite a bit with, Target.com, Walmart.com. Like I think a lot of these retailers have leaned into e-commerce in a pretty powerful way. And when you look at the category data on like of their most affluent folks who like buy the most wellness products, a lot of them order online, pick up in store, or a lot of them have it delivered. It's like, and so really trying to play where the customers play has been a big focus for us. And then certainly, social media, like having influencers. I think we're less on the like big, huge influencers and more like on the like everyday, mom or nutritionist or like somebody people can relate to who like take shop with me at Target. Look at this amazing product. Like, let me show you how I make my morning smoothie with it. Let me show you how I make this matcha latte. That really resonates with folks. And so doing that kind of both like close to the point of sale and then the general brand awareness. And then we're actually, for the first time ever, investing in TV ads, which feels kind of crazy. I'm like, are we there yet? But yeah, we're doing CTV, connected TV ads on streaming that I think will be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've seen a lot more of those streaming ads in really strange places sometimes, but they resonate because you don't expect them. You're like, oh, wow, that's there. That's just interesting, and you have that captive audience. So yeah, I think TV could be a really good option. I think about podcast advertising. Of course, podcast advertising. Everyone should spend their money on podcasts, but I think when it comes to consumer podcasts, that can be kind of a slippery slope. If you think about, some of the ones that are a little out there, I won't mention any podcast names, but you have to figure out which ones you want to be associated with, even though it might have the same consumer base or the audience might have a consumer base that fits right into the Kuli Kuli wheelhouse. I think that also might be kind of a tricky decision when it comes to spending as well.
Yes, it is tricky. And, we're also still pretty scrappy. Like we've grown a ton, but we're still like really pushing for profitability. Last year was our first profitable year on the
Hey,
market. So
congratulations.
it is possible. It's just, it takes 10 years. But we want to do this in a way that like is sustainable in every sense of the word. Like I don't want to fundraise again. I'm gonna say that on this podcast where I'm sure a lot of our investors are listening. Like, I don't want to fundraise again. I want this business to be profitable. And like if we raise money, like most likely it's gonna be debt. And we want to kind of ride this as hard and as far as we can possibly take it.
I like it. And I think you are the first person to say, I don't want to fundraise again, but in a way that's, look, I think we're in a good place to grow from, where we have a good foundation, as opposed to, I hate this. I don't want to fundraise anymore. I'm sick of asking for money.
Yes,
Yeah.
I actually like fundraising. That's kind of the ironic thing is like I enjoy it because I see it as a little bit of a game. And I love games and I love winning. And so it's like, if I, can I build a list of 400 people? Like, how quickly can I get to a no? Because that, in my mind, is like the number one step is like, I don't want to be dragged on with people who aren't worth my time. So, like, how quickly can I get a no? And then for the ones who are like a maybe or a yes, like, how much of that can I convert? The other piece that I will just drop in there, because I know a lot of founders spend a lot of time thinking about fundraising, is build a list of all your no's and keep them updated every quarter. So I literally have a list. I think it's like 500 people now who like I've met at various pitch events, networking, etc. Especially when I was in fundraising mode hardcore, like very much trying to meet a lot of potential investors. And I call this spreadsheet my future investor list, and I keep them updated every quarter. And I say, here's what's going well, here's what's challenging. I had one person on that list who told me he was a tech investor only. This was like, I met him probably 2016. Was like, I don't do CBG, but like, I like you. I'm interested in, keep me updated. Everybody says that, right? Everybody says, keep me updated. It's very rare that people actually do update them. So I had this guy on my list from, 2017 until we raised our Series B in 2019, sent him an update every quarter. He didn't respond to a single one. Then right before we were about to close our Series B, he sends me an email and says like, hey, I still don't invest in CBG, but I'm really impressed at your level of persistence and the progress you've made. And I want to put $2 million into this round. And that closed out a round.
You were just telling him exactly what was going on with your business. You mentioned the challenges, but also the progress you've made. And I think people respect the truth. Investors in particular. I can't imagine a single investor would want you to lie to them or stretch the truth in any kind of way. They want to know exactly what's going on, especially if they've already invested money in your brand, for sure.
Yeah, and I think they like hearing that you've like had challenges and overcome them. And they also like hearing that you're still in business. Like there's something to be said for like still being at it after 5, 10 years, where I think people are like, oh wow, okay, this person's got grit. Because I mean, I am a big believer in like startups don't fail, founders quit. And if you can just keep yourself from quitting, you can go a long way.
Lisa, it is always so incredible speaking with you because you are such an amazing entrepreneur in every sense of the word. And you have introduced this incredible superfood that has improved the lives of millions of Americans. You've learned so much about what works for your brand, what hasn't worked. And throughout it, you've persevered and found a way to move forward, which I think is the essence of an entrepreneur. You've got to find a way and get through the tough times so you can get to the good ones. So thank you so much for joining us once again on Taste Radio. I would say good luck going forward, but I think luck has touched you in a lot of really good ways already. But I'll say it anyway. Good luck with everything going forward. Please stay in touch, and I have a feeling we'll be talking again soon.
Can't wait. Fourth time's a charm.
Yes, indeed.